It's Wednesday, April the 13th, King of the Mountain State Show, presented by the Dutch Miller Auto Group. I'm Chase Hill. Today I'm going to be sitting down talking with Thomas Flanery. He put on one of the most exciting fights we had last year. We're going to talk a little bit about that and preview the year coming up. Thomas, man, thanks for sitting down talking to me today.
Thanks for having me.
So that last fight, that was absolutely awesome with Matt Chris. Before we talk about it, tell me, man, how did you get into this fight game? When did you decide that combat and violence was something you were going to be drawn to?
A couple years ago, I just kind of stumbled into Ground Zero Fighting Systems on 7th Avenue, and I was having a really, really rough patch in my life. I needed something different, and I wanted to learn Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I met this cat named Hunter Mead. He's a terrible influence, and over a couple of years of doing Jiu-Jitsu, competing in Jiu-Jitsu, training with those guys, Hunter got me into striking and convinced me it would be a good idea to take a boxing match.
And you're training with TK, right? Terrence Kelly down in Huntington. He works with you some, right?
Yep. I got in with TK after my first boxing match, and I've been training there with him. TKO Boxing Club. He's fantastic coach.
Yeah, I've known him for a long time. He is really great. Always good having him at the shows and stuff. He helps out with anything we need him to. If maybe somebody doesn't have a corner man or something, he'll jump in and help us. So let's talk about last year. You got in. It wasn't part of the tournament. We were at our championship round. You're a big guy, what, 6'4" or 6'5", however tall. So you're a big guy. We had another guy, Matt Chris. He hadn't had any fights, and he was a big guy. So it was an awesome match on paper. We didn't know what to expect, and we were blown away. It was an absolute awesome fight that ended up being the judges had it as a draw. It was a great fight. Tell me what it was like, your first experience going into the ring. I'm sure there was some nerves there.
Man, well, first of all, shouts out to Matt Chris because really cool guy. Intimidating as possibly could be for a first-time fighter, first-time matchup. But, not a lot of boxing experience. I didn't realize how little experience I had in boxing. Guys that train like I did trick themselves into thinking they know how to box until you put the shoes on. But I got a crash course in it real quick and went in there and did the best I could. And,
Well, and we saw that, like, you came out in the first round. It was it was new for you. You were fighting a guy who literally was built like a bodybuilder. He looked like a Viking. He was as intimidating. We could have had him work security that night by himself. So in the first round, a little shaky, you went down, kind of a stumble, also a good punch by Matt. You injured your knee. So here you were stacked up, your knee was hurt, your first ever fight. It's the first round, you go down. A lot of people would have packed it in for the night and said, that's it. And you didn't do that.
Now, I believe Tommy Hearns said one time that even if I lose, you're going to know that you were in a fight. And that's the way I am. I'll step into that ring. We're going all the way. It's either all the way or no way.
Yeah, so you came out of the first round. You got a little bit more comfortable in the second round. You started to land some punches. You started to kind of be able to move forward toward him. And that second round was awesome, which a lot of us and the judges included had you win in the second round. And then the third round, you just build on top of that, and you started to get really comfortable in there. We could see you throwing punches a little differently, looking more like a boxer. So talk to me about that. When you go into the second, you go into the third, you did get kind of settled down, right?
Yeah, it was the nerves went away. I felt like the worst of it. He had already hit me as hard as I thought he could. And I'm like, if this is what you got, then let's go. And I was ready to take it all the way. Not without having the experience, without having the gas tank of a boxer, well, at least not like I thought I did. I was just giving it the best I could in the second and third. And I could have went for, a fourth or a fifth. I would have went as long as the judges and the commission would have let us go. And he would, he's no quitter.
Yeah, and for a big guy, you showed you had some heart and had some cardio and stuff. You battled through that injury. It was an awesome fight. So right off the bat, I reached out to you this year and I said, Thomas, man, I think you should get in this tournament. Now you don't have to worry about the first fight jitters. You know what it's like being in there. You've already fought a guy who was really good. So I wanted you to be a part of the tournament. And here we are, 2022. You're in the first round. You're against Aaron Pritt. It'll be his first fight. I'm sure he's going to be going through some of the stuff you went through. But it's a good, fair fight. Two big guys, little experience in the actual ring. I think it's going to be great. Is the approach any different this year, knowing what you could build upon from last year, that it's not just uncommon ground to you now?
Absolutely, especially working with Terrence Kelly. And I've only been working with Terrence Kelly since my last fight to build into a boxer, becoming a boxer, getting away from grappling and stuff. Go ahead.
And as you're a southpaw, like a southpaw presents problems in boxing for guys, and a big southpaw can really present some matchups, some tough stuff there. So that's, you're really built for this. I really think you're going to do well with it this year, and we're glad that you're back in it. Talk to me about the fight coming up. I know that there's no footage or really anything of Aaron Pritt because he hasn't been in the ring. So how do you prepare for a guy you know very little about?
So, same day, the same game. We're just training like we're training for the biggest fight of our life, no matter what, and just working that exactly what you're talking about, that southpaw advantage, that reach, footwork, head movement, and it's going to be a banger for sure. And shouts out to that guy. Shouts out to Aaron Pritt for picking that fight up, because that was big of him. Thank you for doing that. When Aaron had to drop out because of medical, shouts out to anybody like that that's willing to pick up a fight. That's cool.
Yeah, and what you're referring to is you were originally supposed to fight Aaron Hairston, and he has a little bit of a medical thing he's got to get checked out. So we had the spot open up, and Aaron Pritt, he had been waiting. A lot of people don't know this, but Aaron Pritt had been messaging me for weeks saying, hey, I know it's full, but if something happens, I'm ready to go. I haven't had any fights. As soon as I offered it to him, he jumped right in. So it not a lot of guys would take it short notice type deal, and he did. So props to him for that. Going into the fight, I guess it's more of just a being in shape and being ready to go, because in the amateurs, anything can happen. The matchups can be changed around. So I'm sure just taking care of you and getting yourself ready is probably the most important thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
All
right. Doing a lot of sparring, a lot of pad work.
So tell me about the future. I mean, we're going to do this tournament. Hopefully you do well and you're successful with it. You took over the last event. Like, it was the championship round and we had a great crowd, but like the crowd was the best during the Thomas Flanery, Matt Chris fight. Boone County's a rowdy place. It's where I'm from. We usually have a really good fight crowd down there. They might not know who you are right at this moment, but they're going to find out Saturday night, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. No doubt.
I think a lot of people left there that night, and when they were out celebrating or having a good time after the event, I think your fight was probably the one that a lot of people ended up talking about, and I hope it's the same way this time.
We stopped over at Roosters at Pullman Square to eat, my wife and I, and there was probably 20 people came up to us, just taking pictures, dapping us up, and I was like, man, this is a little much.
Yeah, it's awesome. You earned it. It was a great performance. I know you're going to do it again this time. I can't wait to watch it. Give me some shout outs before we go. I know that there's a girlfriend or so there that has to deal with you fighting and doing all this. So tell me about that.
Caitlin Carver, love her to death. She's the best thing in my life. So shouts out to her, because she deals with it and she can't stand it. She can't, but I was, getting involved in this before we met, and we're not going to stop now, but she supports me the whole way, and she's always there for me when I'm not home training or getting ready on fight week and stuff. She supports me. Shout out Brian Bowling, Ground Zero Fighting Systems. He's the Muay Thai coach there. He's the first person that ever got me to put on a pair of boxing gloves and showed me the ropes. And shout out Terrence Kelly. None of this will be possible without TK. And I noticed you mentioned this when you were talking to Sandman about TK. He really does. He'll come in, and there's a guys that don't have a cornerman. There's somebody that don't have someone to wrap their hands. And, he did that for me. My cornerman didn't show up that night. And he just said, without me ever meeting him, he just said, man, I'm going to corner you. And here, give me your hands. He wrapped my hands up. And, that's a big deal. What he does for boxing in West Virginia, and especially in Huntington, can't be understated.
Yeah, and a lot of these events, people know who maybe the promoters are and the fighters are and that kind of stuff. But the real glue, the real crew who gets something like this to happen are those guys like TK that step in and help the fighters that don't have the help, and they really make the show go. So we appreciate him. Thomas, you've got a great personality. You're professional in everything that you do. It's been easy to work with you. You put on a great show for us. You got a great gym, a great support group there at home. It's easy to root for you. And in just 3 or 4 days from now on Saturday night in Madison, you're back in the ring, and we're excited for you, buddy.
I'm just as excited as anybody else. Thank you so much, Chase, and thank you for putting on the promotion.
It's a good thing, and it's any promotion is only as good as the fighters, and we got the best fighters. So that's why I'll leave it. But thank you again for sitting down talking to me today. I'll see you here in a few days, and we're gonna put a show on for them.
All right, we'll see you Saturday night.
Thanks, buddy.